loss. So, 1 kilo is going to become 2, and 2 is going to become 4, and 4 is going to become 8, and 8 is going to become 16, and 16 is going to become 6, and it just doesn't stop. It's exponential. So it is this, there's the answer right in front of us. We have all this organic matter, we have all this waste, what we call waste, but we identify it as auxiliary surplus. We say, guys, wake up, look around you, look at what we're dumping all the time. Look at the statistics, 54% of all our food, and we don't know how to get rid of it. But look and explore on a topic called sort of microbial husbandry. Understand that this is like a creature, you must nurture it. And so we go. So, taking it from there and working it in the fact that you can, once you master this, you are exploring soil. You can start creating soil from this thing. Maybe too much, I don't know.
But then I want to ask you,
Yes.
I want to stop you right there, because, you guys are speaking about organic matter, and you're speaking about, working the soil so that the soil can work for you. But isn't that time consuming?
Okay.
Isn't organic farming time consuming?
No,
Do we
it
have the
isn't.
time for
Okay,
it? Mr. Tim was here, and he said that it's going to take him 3 years to build his biomass. So now we need to make profit. We are farmers.
Okay, so now
we
fair
need
enough.
to wait
Okay,
3
so
years for biomass.
let me ask you this. So, I mean, if I say to you that compost worms will eat their own body weight in 24 hours. So if you have 1 ton of composting worms and you fed them, let's say, 500 kilograms of organic matter, they would devour that within 24 hours. And if we look at the problem at the moment in our country, that one of the things that we have the biggest issue is with waste. We don't know what to do with it. It's expensive. We have to move it somewhere. No one knows what to do with it. Government doesn't really know. And so look at the retail. Let's look at urban. So we're looking from an urban perspective. So you have a creature that expands exponentially and requires an organic matter. And if you have 500 grams or 500 kilograms of composting worms, and they are devouring half a ton of organic matter every single day, you are in the forefront. So it's almost like the energy is for free. But beyond the fact that the energy is for free, people will pay you as the farmer. Farmers are very special people. It's a calling, you can call it what it is, but they are very, very special people, and they just need to adapt and be creative. So they begin to dance with nature, because you can dance conventionally or you can dance with nature. So now you begin to dance with nature, and someone gives you 100 kilograms of worms, and 100 goes to 200, 200 to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 1.2 tons of worms. And these guys need like half a ton of food every single day. And the guy, sort of the institution across the road there, they need to pay a company to take away the organic waste, and it's expensive. It's like hazmat, it's like fish heads and ugly stuff. But all of this through binary fusion, you could hot compost, cold compost, reverse. You could feed it to your worms, and they will just keep on eating it. But now beyond that, they are a creature that's going to double every 60 days. They can have population explosions. If you can orientate, if you are a good worm farmer and you understand the principles of worm farming, then yes, you're in the game. But this is like a creature that is worth 1,000 rand a kilogram, between 600,000, depending where your market is. But then beyond that, you're going to produce something that is next level. When we look at worm husbandry and we look at sort of the aspects of understanding this oldest terrestrial creature on the planet, we achieve something that is next level, and through that it becomes a source. And certainly when one looks at an environment, what would be the best way? Who would be the people that would want to really buy your soil? That would be the best soil. Would be those who grow cannabis. Those who grow cannabis would certainly be interested in buying the soil. So it creates something else. So you're taking something that someone paid you to take away, you turned into something that somebody even wants more. And this is organic farming. This is dancing with nature. And the answer's in front of our nose. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So guys, like you've heard so passionately from Gorilla Farms, is that the soil is actually what gives organic farmers their profits. And they work tediously to make sure that they build that organic matter. And that is what makes them profitable, even though, we've heard people saying that conventional farming gives you high yields. But fun fact, so does organic farming. And now we have Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim, are you here?
Hi, Gugu, I'm here.
All right, Mr. Tim. So how do we register or certify to be organic producers?
I lost you there.
I just want to know how or where do we register or certify so that we can be certified organic producers and produce to all these fancy places?
Okay. So in South Africa, we got a second party form of certification that we use. We call it PGS. It's a participatory guarantee system. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Tim, I can hear you. Gorilla Farms, just mute your mic, please.
Will do.
So PGS stands for participatory guarantee system. It's a peer-to-peer form of certification. You don't need these expensive auditors. It's cheap. Every community we go, we form a PGS body, of which will be on the day of the certification. What happens is we'll have farmers, we'll have retailers, of which are restaurants or independent retailers who buy organic produce, and then we'll have consumers who are community members who also buy from us. So what happens there, it's based on 5 objectives. One, it's all about shared vision. We all share a vision that food should be natural. We need to eat good quality, fresh produce that everybody must have. So the second part is there must be trustworthy. So you as a farmer who is producing this food, you must be trustworthy to yourself. The process is transparent. There is no red tape, the process is all transparent. The fourth one, there is a learning process. When you come to the farm, you get to understand this is a home farm, compost, how it's made, water, and all those things. Then the last one, it's horizontal. It's a networking session for everybody. So we got a PGS body of which you conduct a farm visit. Once a year, we come to your farm, we come and check your water. We send you a checklist first of what will answer there, like water, where is the water from? If it's a borehole, did you get a borehole tested? Do you have compost? Do you make compost? If you are using you buy inputs like pesticide, where do you buy them from? If you make yours, how do you make it? So what PGS does, it does 2 things. It assures, it's an assurance system, and it's a guarantee system. It assures you as a consumer, as a retailer, as a farmer who is a producer, and as a community member, that the food you are eating is not just food, it's an insurance for your health system.
Okay, so Mr. Tim, fine. Now we have certified our organic produce and we are on the right track. Now what we want to know is who is our market for organic foods? Where do you guys sell your products?
So,
and for how much? And how do you price it as well? Do you guys make your own prices?
Yeah, so the question is, why do we need PGS? PGS is for market access for these organic producers. So as I say, like we got independent retailers in our network that will source the produce. Most of us, we sell to, the Gary Jackson, the Jackson's Real Food and Italy market with the Brand's Organic market. So we got different restaurants or people in our network that buy the produce. And I'm telling you, most people want to go open independent retail organic shops. But the problem is there is no enough volume of organic produce. About pricing, every farmer will come up with his own price. But at the same time, the retailers will tell you, guys, this is what the market's paying, but I will pay above what the market pays. So it's more of a mutual understanding between you and the retailers. But I can tell you, it's the organic, you get more than what the market is paying you.
Okay, so every time I think about organic farming, I'm automatically in South Africa. I go to Woolworths all the time. How can we sell to Woolworths? Is it even possible, or do they have certain requirements that you guys as organic farmers
can I step in? Oh, hello.
Yes, you can.
So, and I mean, sorry, I assume this channel is for emerging farmers and this channel is for farmers, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so my advice is to explore things like CSA, community supported agriculture, because we can dance the hoops if we look at community supported agriculture. I ran 220 pigs on a hectare, and I slaughtered on the property. And from the pig, I was getting 196 Rand a kilogram, whereas a farmer would normally take his pig and get 26 Rand on the hoof on the kilogram. But we took it more. We produced soap, we produced lard, we produced broth. We looked at the market and we expanded it as far as possible, because when we look at the pig, our good friend Mr. Hagu, it brings so much to the table, pound for pound. So when we look at CSA, one of the things of my belief was, the animal should be slaughtered at its place of birth. So therefore, we would punt for an ethical animal. So looking at from a CSA, it allows you to formulate a club. And doing so, you can outmaneuver Woolworths. Look, 5 companies in our country control our food. We must accept this. But when we go from the grond to the mond, from the ground to the plate, from the ground to the mouth, we can certainly outclass all of this. But we must find like-minded people, and they must agree with our organic principles. So you must be proud enough to allow someone to come to your farm and inspect daily on their citizen eye, and to buy into your concept. And regardless of statute and social integrity, neither or, and get 100 people, run 1,000 chickens and get 100 people, and cut out all the middlemen, cut them all out, and you can take Woolworths out for 100%, pound for pound, and especially if you go organic, because, regardless of where we are right now, yes, just because we can't afford Woolworths, we certainly know that we want to go organic, even though that we live in a country where, there's a large percentage, like maybe 80% of the people living in this country living on or below the breadline. We are sharp enough to realize we want to go organic, but it's not available. So making it available, it's certainly, there's attributes to that. So over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Gorilla Farms. I think that actually proves the point, and what Tim was also saying, and what you were also highlighting, is that the PSG is peer-to-peer. So once we can form that community and be like, our foods are certified good and nutritious, then already that's our market done. So working together is very key. Mr. Tim, I want to ask you something. How do you control your pests and your weeds? What do you do?
So I'm coming from the old school. I call it LEISA, LEISA. So it's low external input of sustainable agriculture. I'm more of that stingy farmer who spends close to nothing on inputs, but maximizes more on the output. What am I talking about? In agroecology, Mother Nature has been so generous, like she gave us everything on this earth for us to use to make her more beautiful and to look after her. When I go and see blackjack, blackjack, amashabu, those soldiers that we hate so much. When you take those leaves, you ferment them in water. You take the leaves, you put in a bucket of water, you leave them to ferment for 2 weeks. You go and spray that on your crop. That's like a green manure. That's a liquid fertilizer. That one is a natural pest repellent. The smell will chase away all the pests from the garden. This castor oil leaves, it's also number one. You ferment it in water for 2 weeks. You go and spray, you dilute, you spray on your crops. It kills all the pests. Chilies. People say chilies, we must understand as time goes on, these pests, they become so susceptible that they don't even feel some of these things. You make your own, the earthworm tea. You take that water, you mix with water, you dilute, you spray on your plant, it kills them. All the pests. But what I love is doing companion planting. When you plant cabbages and onions, the smell of those plant onions, they repel away those plants. But in the Bible, Jesus Christ was a sacrificial lamb. He got sacrificed because of your sins so that we might be saved, then he might be crucified. In the garden, there are what we call sacrificial plants. You sacrifice one plant to save another plant. For example, you plant basil next to tomatoes. Basil will attract all those aphids that will come to the tomatoes. We eat the leaves of the basil. The leaves don't get affected. You save the tomato, and at the same time, you're improving the taste, the quality, and the flavor. Nasturtiums, the flowers that you plant, or marigold, you plant them next to the cabbages. They release natural chemicals into the soil. that kill the cutworm and all these disease-causing pathogens. But lastly, when you take the wood ash, not coal ash, you take that wood ash, you spray in your garden. That one, it kills because it's rich in calcium and kills most of this. You got problem of snails? Hello? Go and buy a beer. Pour it pour it in a bowl. Put it in the garden. All the snails will come and drown overnight. Epsom salt in our shops. Take the Epsom salt. Sprinkle in the garden. Sometimes our soils are lacking magnesium. That, it's just what we have available. I didn't say go and buy Bionin. I don't say buy expensive stuff. It's what is within us. So it's understanding the principles of organic farming, companion planting, crop rotation. We don't sleep on the same side of the bed every day. So why must you plant spinach on the same bed every day? Change. So it's all those companion planting, intercropping, making your own fertilizers, making your own, because the more you make your own things, you don't buy from outside, the more you got a well-established holistic farm that is looking after itself, and then you're able to understand the patterns of the production in your farm.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Tim Nectar. Guys, I hope you are making notes. He told you from every pest, he told you what to do. So I'm going to move on to Wedi Farms. Wedi Farms, are you here? We'd also like to hear your input.
I hope my internet is okay. I am not
we
sure.
we hope so too. Okay, we're gonna ask you this question, right? We spoke
Okay.
about how, especially what Mr. Tim was saying now, that what it's about understanding your production and it's working with what you have. I just want to be a bit controversial here. Don't you think organic farming requires more skills? Because you're not relying heavily on mechanical and chemical assistance. You have to build a close relationship and always have a close observation of your production process. So is it not time consuming, basically? And does
I
it not require skills? So how do we mitigate that?
No, I just think there's a learning curve in any type of farming that you do. Everyone had, they had a starting, they had a place where they started. Even with conventional farming, it's you started somewhere, and you taught yourself how to, do land tilling. If you do not practice no-till farming, then you had to learn every single aspect of how you're going to produce your food. And the same thing with organic farming. There's this misconception that it's expensive, and Tim has just given us examples of how it's not expensive, and how there's a very low barrier to entry to organic and natural farming than there is to conventional farming. And I know that it is expensive to do conventional farming in the short term and in the long term than it is with organic farming. And it's just that there's this, we just have to have like a change in our mindset of how this is going to happen. If you're going to do organic farming in, like large tracts of land, then it becomes a bit expensive in that if it's commercial. But for small, I do not think that it is expensive. Actually, it uses a lot of costs. Hello. Hello.
Hi, Wedi Farms. No, you cut there at the end, but I think we got what you were sharing with us. That you were saying that it's not expensive at all, and we can start, especially on a small scale, right? And
Yes.
if we
KNF farming. It's this Korean natural farming. they have a lot of literature about what you can use for, like, pesticides, for your foliar sprays in different your plants from the fruiting or reproductive stages, and also like how you can make your own fertilizers at home with whatever you have in your own home. Like, it doesn't have just to be compost, like composts that we usually know of, like when people are making compost at home, like, the different teas that you can actually make for your plants. So I think, just a little bit of reading will just, give you some uh, different perspective of how people in countries are doing organic farming.
Thank you so much, Wedi Farms, for that. So I hope you guys took notes of what he said. So I think now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open up the floor. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask our speakers, maybe a question that I didn't cover, now is your chance. Request to be a speaker and take it away, fire away. Does any of our listeners have any questions? Guys, this is a safe space. Feel free to ask away. There's no such thing as a question that you feel like is, silly or whatever the case may be. This is a safe space. Ask away if there's something that you're not certain about, or if you have an experience to share, or if you'd like to know how to start, perhaps. So anything, just any question with organic farming. If you have something to ask, please request to become a speaker and fire away.
The gorilla here is saying that, I made friends with failure. And that's kind of like the best open mind, the way to go, make friends with failure. And there's certain things you cannot YouTube, you cannot read. You just got to experience it. It's about observation. You want to dance with nature, just go try. And there's the African proverb says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night with a mosquito. That little bastard keeps you awake, like, so you just carry on. You'll chip away, looking at different aspects. Grow in a yogurt can. Grow, just keep on growing. Look at things, etc. Okay, that's my side.
We appreciate that, Gorilla Farms, because it's the truth. We are not experts. We are farmers because we keep trying and trying and trying, and from trying comes experience. So
Absolutely.
anyone who has exactly, so anyone who has a question, I'm opening up the floor for the very last time. So if there's anyone, if there's something that you feel like we didn't cover, just request to be a speaker. Okay, there is a speaker coming through. Timunye, hey. Hello. Sandile.
Hello, Cuckoo.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
well, thanks, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Do you have a question for our speakers?
Yes. So,
Fire away.
yes. So, I started my farming journey last year, around June. So I want to find out if was my produce organic or not, because literally what I did, I went to the farm, prepared my land, I bought seedlings, put them on the ground, and I watered my plant. That was it. No any chemical I didn't use any herbicide or pesticide, nothing. Until my spinach was big and was ready for the market. That's my question number one. So was my produce organic or what? I don't know. Then number two, because I want to expand my scale, I want to move to another land. That land, the last time it was used was back in 2003 rather. So how do I start my organic farming? Do I go to my land, prepare it and put my well just after doing my soil samples. So what do I do for me to start my organic farming on my second land where I want to expand my production?
Thank you so much, Sandile. Speakers, do you guys want to answer Sandile?
Yeah, absolutely. And I firstly would like to commend her for going forward and for being courageous enough to take it all on. And fantastic. And it's always it gives me a breath of fresh air when I hear farmers looking at different dynamics and and how we can synergize our energy and share our energy and share our experiences. And this is what you've done today. You've created a platform where we can sort of pass on information. So yes, certainly I think you've taken for me Sandile, it sounds more like it's about being love. You've taken a labor of love and you've done something and you've put it all into the earth, and the earth has given you back. So for me, 10 points. That's organic. I mean, look, unless you're spraying Roundup and hitting it with napalm, you're doing the right thing. You're following your heart, and now you're exploring the option of where you can go further. For me, girlfriend, what I'm saying to you is like, look at aspects where you can take your product and you can make it different. Like for instance, when you look at the local markets at the moment. And you chop it up and you mix it with salt and you put it in a bottle and you've got a bit of understanding of fermentation, you produce quite a premium product. And you could say maybe for a cabbage you would get maybe 12 Rand or 14 Rand right now, but if you were to take one cabbage, you could take it and you could turn it into like 5 or 6 bottles of your probiotic sauerkraut. So it's looking at the market and seeing where it goes. And it's very difficult to be organic. You mentioned earlier on, Gugulethu, it's about how yes, it is difficult, but with being difficult, it can swing to the right direction because you can look where the trends are. One doesn't have to, looking on Facebook what people are eating, their trends, what they are thinking, what they're exploring, looking at the markets, and then being able to take something that nobody has. So I certainly commend you, and I say to you, if you're looking to go further, it's going to be quite difficult to challenge the big commercial farms who are growing hectares and hectares of your produce. You need to take your produce and you need to take it a step level, because that's your energy. If you're going organic, you're growing it with your heart, you're putting all your effort in there, you're going to need to look at some kind of plan or business plan or scheme where you could tap into a niche market, something that was quite specific, maybe mixing, let's say, a fermented spinach, or look where the markets are, see where it goes. That's my advice. Keep on moving it up, don't be shy, explore medicinal, explore herbal, explore the things that there is a trend for. Go to Woolworths. Go there. That's where we learn. We go to Woolworths and we walk up and down. You walk up and down Woolworths. You go to Woolworths. You walk up and down, and you see what they are selling, because they have very clever people who they are paying lots and lots of money to see what the people are thinking of. So you can do the same thing, and you could create something where they are, and you might find that the ingredients are quite simple. It would be like spinach and maybe some yeast and blah blah blah. So for me, high yield. You want to look at your high yield, but you want to look at your small proximity, and ensuring that you can bump it up. So over to anybody else who's got more advice.
Yeah, I think she also asked a very important question. Farmers, Wedi Farms or Guerrilla Farms. She asked that now she has like almost virgin land. She has land that hasn't been used since 2003, and that's where she wants to move. So is it advisable?
Well, for me, it's about a plan. You can't go forward without a plan. That's the first thing that you've got to do. You've got to sit down, you've got to have a plan, and you shouldn't be, it's almost like, don't ask that question. It's like, look beyond yourself and say like, okay, use what you have to create what you need. And at the end of the day, as a farmer, we took offtake. what is going to be your offtake. Regardless, we can grow cannabis. It's a good market. We can grow saffron. It's going to be difficult. We could look at vanilla. It's going to be tricky. We could look at geoderms. We could look at plastic tunnels. We could look at education. All of these things, we could look at various things, but it's kind of like, what is the plan? The land, there's plenty of land in our country. Let's call it space, because we have so much space. It's available. But at the end of the day, it has to be sustainable, and we have to look at what we're going to put in and to what we're going to take out, and where we're going to start there. The first thing that we're really going to look at, I reach this to all my fellow farmers, all my, people who want to inspire themselves to be farming, and I encourage you. It's a calling. It's beautiful. Go for it. Don't stop. But you've got to start with a plan. I don't care if you write in the back of a Rothman cigarette box, or a black label crate, the box that it comes out. You must write a plan. You have to start with a plan, and you've got to look at the offtake. You've got to look at where you're going to sell it, and how. And that's where it really begins. We have the space, and we have the energy, and we've got to be creative. We can be creative, and it's there. It's there. Look, if you're going to go chemical, it's tough. Yes, sorry. Do you want to take over? Absolutely.
No. I just I see there's another speaker as well,
okay.
Who wants to ask a question. So Sandile, I think what Guerrilla Farms was saying is very important, right? That a plan is needed. So if you're going to spend so much money on, transforming this virgin land into arable land, you need to make sure that you're going to get back as much as you're going to put in. I think that's the most important thing.
Cash flow protection, X-Files, everything. Go. Yes.
Tsakani, you're next.
Thank you, Gugu. Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much to organic farming speakers. I think this was one of the spaces or conversations that I've been waiting to just be part of, because I think, Gugu, in previous conversations you've heard us say or speak about the fact that we do want to go organic farming. However, we're not sure about the route. So Tim mentioned some very practical advices that I appreciate. He mentioned how we can practically incorporate the idea of organic farming. However, I still feel like nobody's really answered the conversation or answered the question as to, when we're talking about farming on a bit of a larger scale, how does one, or if you're going to be planting on hectares of land, like hectares and hectares, how does one really control, the weeds, the pests, and so forth? And I hear like the answers that the information that I'm getting is that it's very practical for small scale farming, or your garden, or smaller scale. But like on hectares and hectares of land, I'm not getting the kind of information or kind of advice in terms of how do we go.
I would like to step in for a moment, just for a second, if I could. Okay. And I would just like to say something in the country that we're living in, that we have the solution, and the solution goes against sort of European or American ideologies, and it would be labor intensive. I'd like to explore on the aspect that we are in a country where we have a lot of people who are hungry, and there's not much employment in our country. So why would we think of looking at machines when we could look at something labor intensive? And if we're looking at labor intensive, we can keep it organic, because organic is labor intensive. But then we would have to look at producing premium products, which we have the ability to do because we have the perfect climate. So I think that's what it comes. We need to employ people. I think that regardless.
I'm a traditional farmer, to also just come in there. I'm a traditional farmer. I employ people. We do things the traditional way, if that's what you're getting at, and that's what I'm trying to say, and that's the advice that I need. That for somebody who is doing it the traditional way and would like to go organic farming, but in a bigger scale, how do I go about that? Because my biggest issue is things like pests and weeds and trying to control that. But as much as it's labor intensive, or I need a lot of labor, you also need to understand that those laborers need to be paid, and they need to be
Yes,
paid
so you must produce a
well.
premium product. So let's not grow
Yeah, so
spinach. Spinach is boring, and tomatoes are boring, and all of those things are going to be boring. We're going to go for something that nobody. It's about a premium product, and we live in a country where, I mean, however blasphemous it sounds to say that we have very cheap labor, and I'd rather put some money in someone's hand that is sitting at home, rotting away because they have nothing. So let's look at labor-intensive farming. Let's not explore the ideology of sort of Western cultures of farming. Let's just look at labor-intensive farming. But within that aspect, within that framework, let's look at premium products. Premium products, something that's going to achieve the highest amount of money. The highest amount of money, because we're going to put a labor of love. And for me, I then look at bio-integrated farming, where I look at the incorporation of, pigs, chickens, etc., because these animals are merely there to produce soil. So you're going to grow something special. Let's say you grow the most beautiful daffodil, the most beautiful orchid, or the most beautiful whatever, but you're going to achieve, like 8,000 to 12,000 Rand a kilogram. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at a premium yield. We have the sun.
Can I please interject there? Premium yield, ne? Premium yield, Tsakani. So I just want to ask you something. Are you now asking how are the methods in which we are going to operate? Is that your question?
Sorry.
Because now it's like large scale.
Repeat. I did not hear correctly. Again.
Okay. Can everyone hear me, right? I just want to ask Tsakani a question. So is your question, how are we going to have an operation on a larger scale, organically?
No, for me, it's about. Yeah.
Is that your question, Tsakani?
Yes, that is my question, Gugu.
Okay, so I think that's a very good question, because I'd also like to know. Fine, we're growing blueberries, or maybe we even growing vanilla, because we're going to export it, right? So we are going to get value for the money. We are going to make profits. But how do we go about that on a larger scale? There's pests, there's weeds. What are we going to do differently from a smaller scale? And we're going to take that and implement that on a larger scale. What are we going to do differently? Because we're not going to be using tilling. We're not going to till. We're not going to spray. So what are we going to do?
Yes,
I think
that
that's
is my
a very
question.
good question.
Yes, that's my question.
Tim Speaker is here. Tim Nectar, did you get the question? Tim Nectar, are you here?
The gorillas are here.
Okay, Tim Nectar. Tim Nectar seems to be having a network problem, guys. He did apologize, just so everyone's here. The speakers with network problems, they did apologize. They did say that, they'll be on and off. So thank you so much for the gorillas. But that's what we want to know. What is it that we're going to be doing differently? Because we know we are conventional farmers. So we know that we're doing our land prep. We're bringing the tractors in. We're tilling. We're suppressing the weeds. We're going to spray. We're going to plant. That's what we're going to be doing. So on a larger scale, commercially, actually, maybe the question is organic farming a commercial enterprise?
Why would it not be a commercial enterprise? Why would it not be a commercial enterprise? Okay.
Maybe on a scale level, like can a 50 hectare.
I think that where we look at our country, where we are right now, I think that the future for us to look at, previously we would have like 5,000 hectares, and Koos Saki de Kok or Frikkie de Kok or whatever would run 5,000 hectares of maize, and that's how it would be. And I think that sort of looking forward, this module, the system that we want to follow is not sustainable. It's a cuck idea. Let's just agree. Let's look wherever we have to go. It's a monocrop. It's like, we can really put it apart, and we can do it scientifically. We can do it in many ways, but we've got to look at more from our background of how things were working. And for me, it's kind of like, what about if I take the 5,000 hectares and I break it up into 100 and 100 farms, and to buy integrated. But I think the most important thing to talk about is education, because there's a lacking of it. I've traveled over the country. I've been to Limpopo recently. I've been in Orange Free State, and I've realized in South Africa we're about 25 years behind Uganda, and 25 years behind Kenya, and 25 years behind Zimbabwe, and 25 years behind Zambia. That's how backward we are when it comes to small scale high yield farming. We are like so behind. It's like pathetic. So there's an aspect. Either you can look at commercial farming, you can look at that like you want to do the 5,000 hectares. Okay, crack on. Like go that way. Let's see how it works for you. If you're going to go to the other route, if you're going to start looking at sort of small scale high yield, we are backwards. We're like hillbillies. We really are behind. We haven't got a clue. We need to wake up. We seem to have lost 25 years for someone. I don't know where it may be, but we've lost them. And certainly that it can be respected into what is happening. You just go look at TED Talk. Who's speaking? Who are the power speakers? And so therefore we are right now, and we start looking at the way forward. And so therefore the way forward for us to explore would be to catch up. And I think that ultimately, if we're going to catch up, we're going to have to change legislation. We're going to have to look at like our waste acts. We have to look at it.
Yeah.
We have to look at it because it's going to restrict us. It does not allow us. It kind of the system. A lot of the laws that we are following are old apartheid laws. Like the soil law is from 1945. Like, has anybody looked at that? Has any bothered to have a look at where our soil laws are coming from? We're talking about so it's like back to old apartheid laws. So maybe we need to review that.
I actually want to. I'm so glad you brought that up, Gorilla.
I thought you were going to chase us away because everything we say, we always get kicked out. We're always in trouble. So
no, you're not getting kicked out.
Don't beat me.
No, because what you're speaking is factual, right? That at the end of the day, our policies favor, exporting. So we're going to have a farm space next week where we're speaking about food systems. And I'm so glad that this is coming up because it's a reality. So why do we want to go commercial? What does that mean to be commercial? Does it mean being a big farmer? Does it mean, owning 1,000 hectares of land? Or does it mean having 10 hectares of land and being profitable and still making money? So maybe we need to be smart about the way we think about producing food and look at high quality, high yield products, because that's where we're going anyway. So I don't know if it answers your question, Sakani, or if you have anything you'd like to share on that.
It's okay, Gugu.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tim Nectar, are you here? Mr. Tim. Okay, we'll take another question. Zolile, I see you're a speaker. Zolile. Hello. Okay. So Zolile is, I think maybe it's like a network issue. Yeah, guys, honestly, this is such an important topic, and I'm really sorry network is just killing everybody. This is South Africa after all. But I think we got the essence of what today was about. Organic farming is small scale, but their focus is on soil health. Their focus is also on profitability in terms of premium produce. So they don't just plant one monocrop like spinach or wine. They have various types of crops that they are planting with their perennials. And that is what makes their system work. So what I will do is I'll open up the floor one last time for maybe 2 more questions. And then I'll call it a day. Mr. Tim, are you here to stay? Mr. Tim?
The gorillas are here. You can't get. We like herpes. Once you get us, you can't get rid of us.
Oh my God!
Exactly.
Mr. Tim, are you here? Okay, guys. So Mr. Tim really tried. He had so much to share, but network, us being farms, network is a problem, please understand. But now this is perfect because you guys are aware of these speakers. They exist. You know, they'll share their social media. You guys can contact them. You guys can have a proper discussion on anything that maybe I haven't covered today. So, gorillas, what are your parting words? What are the opportunities in organic farming for young people? Tell us all the goodies.
I think there's amazing opportunities. I think there's amazing opportunities for young, progressive, entrepreneur, organic farmers ready to take the reins, because no one is. It's kind of like the steam train is going forward and no one is going forward. No one is taking the chance. There's this phenomenal potential in our country. There really is. So for me, parting words, I would say, you know, it's all about education. Empowering yourself, empowering your knowledge, and not being afraid for failure. You know, especially for us guys, sometimes we don't like to fail, but it's actually okay. We got to get used to it. You know, we might be told that we must succeed, but actually, you know, take it on the chin, and to look at soil. It's Alice in Wonderland. You must not be afraid of it, and you know, go, but certainly start with a plan. Guys, if you're listening to this channel, and thank you for bringing us all together, and you're looking at going into farming or your attributes of farming, you must have a plan, and your plan is where it starts. I was going to say to you, I have developed a 1 hectare bio-integrated closed loop farming system that I had someone develop on AutoCAD. So anybody interested, I can forward it to you, Madam Speaker, if you were interested, and you can anybody who wants it. It's quite progressive. It's next level. It's closed loop. I'm a closed loop farmer. I focus on closed loop farming. You know, like I said, dancing with nature. That's my elements, and it's scalable. You know, I'd like to bring everyone's attention to, because we are heading to a shitstorm in our country. We need to pay attention to what is really going down. Land has no value. Movable assets do. I'd like to refer everyone's attention to those who are into history. What happened to Cuba in 1989 when the USSR fell and Cuba was about to collapse, and how they gained the ability to keep themselves fed was through pigs, chickens, and compost worms. It's called the Cuban Special Moment or Incident. I suggest you all go Google it. Check it out. It's the fundamentals of how organic agriculture just outwangs, outswings, outbangs, out anything conventional farming. You can't beat it. You just simply can't beat it. So go look at the Cubans. We're all talking about Cuban doctors, but go see how they remained themselves, because the Americans stood back and wanted to watch them die. They were annoying, so like a pimple on the ass. And they in 1989. Mother Russia falls apart, and they were reliant on that. And see how the urban agriculture, go Google it, go check it for yourself. So that's my parting words. And certainly in our country, we are ready for a new revolution when it comes to organic farming. We are ready for, you know, there are these 5 companies that control our food, Woolworths and all these guys. We can take them out. We can take them out. We can challenge them. We mustn't be afraid. Collectives just simply don't work. We must be almost like, you know, a capitalist with a Karl Marx ideology. You know, that's where we must, a blind spot. That's where we must find the find solution. But we've got it all. We've got it all. We must move. We must wake up. That's my way. So the gorillas are signing out. Thank you very much for allowing us to be here. Yeah. Muchas gracias.
Gorillas, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for holding it down with your stable network, and thank you so much for answering our questions. We appreciate you guys so much. Please send me your closed loop system and how it's so scalable, so we can mimic that and see how.
If you only if you promise me to send it to everybody who's interested, because
I'm gonna send it to people.
Everybody who's interested, because this is next level cock, and you know, there's a bit of like Peyton stories, but let's get it out there. Let's hack the story. I'm going to send it to you right now. So do we have I'm
not going to jail.
Why not? Let's go to jail, because you know, what is the solution?
No, I'm not going to jail.
Well, okay.
I'm not going to jail.
Okay, we'll have a look.
I'm not. Okay, guys. But I'll give you Gorillas their page. They're awesome. Please check them out. Whatever you need, you want to know about composting, about worm farming, they're the guys.
So we're gonna
They do it and they do it so well.
the PDF system and have a look, and a few things based on building a worm hive. And if you can, I would really appreciate if you can send it out to everyone who's interested.
Will do, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
This is where we close.
Okay.
We close our organic farming. It was lovely. I'm so sorry for the network and the disappointments, but whatever you guys need, holla at me. I got you. So I'm signing out. Bye, everyone.